December 15th, 2025. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person council meetings in council chambers on the lower level of City Hall. Public access to tonight's meeting is also available on the local government access channel 8 for Comcast subscribers, on the city's YouTube channel online, and by telephone using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Manjaro-Massa.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Severs.
Here.
Councilmember Kondo.
Here.
Councilmember Roper will be absent. Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Here.
Councilmember Leidy.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we have 3 items on the study session agenda. The first one is our City Council orientation. City Council will move to the community room for orientation and the committee assignments exercise. And our City Clerk Small will lead off the orientation. So take what you need. We're going to head for the 2 items, City Council orientation and the committee exercise. We're going to move to the community room. Thank you. One final study session item, reimagining code enforcement for community impact. Code enforcement binders are on the dais. And we have City Manager Guyer to give us an update. Good call.
Do you want me to redo all of that, or are we good? Okay. So the first meeting, which is scheduled for January 26th, is going to be focused on what is enforced. And so when you look through your packets, we want you to really hone in on the spreadsheet that lists the tiers of violations, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, the definitions around those. We've included pictures, we've included a great amount of information to help you wrap your heads around that first conversation about what we enforce and the why behind it. Following that conversation, so the actual conversation that we're going to have with council on January 26th is really discussing what do we want to change, if anything, between the tiers. So to really simplify this, what I'd ask you to think about using your homework form is if there's something in Tier 1 that you think should be in Tier 4 or Tier 3 or something in Tier 2 that you want to move up or move down, that's the exercise for January 26th. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm just going to acknowledge really quickly that the binders were put together really quickly. Do you know that half of it is upside down?
We did discover that tonight after you were already provided the binder, so we can fix that if
okay.
you'd like us to.
No, I just was trying to orient myself to it.
Yes, my apologies.
Okay.
That they're not all right-sided. And then following the January 26th conversation, we will schedule 2 additional meetings. You see meeting 2 outlined as TBD for the date, and then meeting 3 also a TBD. So based on the pace of how council moves through that January 26th conversation, then we'll schedule the future conversations. So we want to pace it to where we're not providing you too much at once, even though the binders are thick. We acknowledge that. There's a lot of information. We tried to simplify providing this information as much as possible, but really feel strongly that you need this information in terms of the protocols and the policies that our neighborhood services division uses, as well as the other information provided about the violations themselves. So that's the first step, is that January 26th session, and you have between now and then to really dive in, make notes on the homework sheet, reach out to myself, Jason, and let us know if you have any questions. We live and breathe this daily, and so we are open to any and all questions and comments that you have leading up to that January 26th session. So that was the purpose of providing this tonight. Yes, Mayor?
Can you try to orient us? Because I'm flipping through this and I guess I was hoping for some sort of summary document. I mean, at first glance, our code is hard to read.
Okay, so what I would say is if you look at the attachment section of the memo, which is on page 3 of 3, when you flip through, you have under tab 1, you have the purpose and mission statement. So this is why neighborhood services exists, their purpose, Tab 2 is a procedure manual. This is an operational manual that staff uses to train and to ensure consistency of enforcement and other operational aspects. Under tabs 3 and 4, you have information via the CRM, feedback from customers who fill out surveys. So this is more qualitative data in terms of what our customers are, the feedback they're providing to us, as well as in tab 4. In tab 5, there's a list of violations with images and definitions. So if you use the digital version of this, you'll be able to click on the images that describe the violation. On tab 6, this is an overview of code enforcement and the process. We've provided presentations to council in the past. So some of you may see that presentation as familiar, which it would be, going back to earlier this spring when staff presented on code enforcement. Tab 7 is a violations list, high to low by tier, with corresponding data in terms of the number of violations broken down by year, as well as the total number of violations. So this spreadsheet is color-coded by violation tier, and then the corresponding quantitative data. So between this spreadsheet in 7 and then tab 5, I would work with those two spreadsheets as you're going through and making notes, really processing. So for example, if you think an item, a violation in a tier, again, should be moved from 1 to 3 or 3 to 2, whatever it is, that's the exercise for January 26th. We want to get an idea of what does council want to change in terms of what we are currently enforcing. With section 8, these are complaints received classifications. So this is a complete log. It looks like, so you can see type, what the corresponding, if it's graffiti, property maintenance, etc. And so that's just a different subset of sorting data that we have that may be helpful to you. It may not, depending on how you process the information. Under tab 9, we have summons to court dispositions. And so this is a description of cases that went to court, the corresponding charge, the current finding, any relevant notes, and fines associated with that corresponding charge. And so these are the cases where compliance is not achieved voluntarily and individuals are summoned into our municipal court. And then under 10, 11, and 12, we also have prior staff memorandums on the topic of code enforcement that we felt would be good to reference and provide information. So when you look under tab 11, for instance, there's a corresponding PowerPoint that we've provided in the past. Again, it may or may not be helpful to you, but we wanted to share those past presentations with you. So that's an overview of what is put together in the notebooks. Again, there's a digital version that you can utilize as well.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm looking at the digital version here. Am I supposed to be able to click on these pictures, the links, and like it take me to a picture? Because it's not doing that.
Not. Deputy City Manager Loveland said they're working on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would it be possible for us to get our homework sheet from the packet sent to us separately in an editable PDF so we can fill it out?
Yes, we
Okay,
can do that.
thank you.
There's a what? What are you talking about?
We have a homework sheet. So I don't want to print out, like, because there's only like 2 little lines, and I have a lot to say. And
Yeah.
we all will have a lot to say. So if it's an editable PDF, we can just fill it out online.
Do that. We can have that to you by the, within the next couple of days.
Cool, thank you.
I'm struggling with not wanting to kill a tree, but the upside down thing is making the packet not,
I apologize. We can fix it.
well, and it's not I don't need the apology. I just am looking at it like I can't, it's gonna drive me nuts to have to take it apart. But I also could probably access it online, maybe. I don't know. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I went back and forth on whether I was going to ask this question or not, because I'm just not sure if somehow when I get through this, it'll answer the question. But I see like public nuisance and life safety is grouped together. And so when I think of life safety, and again, this is just maybe my lack of understanding and what I think life safety is, because you want us to prioritize that, like, you know, whether we want that to be top priority or not. And so when they're lumped together like that, like some of them don't look like a life safety issue, so they're a public nuisance, is just that's just the way they're grouped, because I think in our worksheet, it's not like that.
So we want you to identify what doesn't make sense to you
Oh, okay.
and tell us that as part of the worksheet. So if you think something, violation should be separated, if definitions should change, we want you to take apart the code enforcement process, starting with violations, and give us feedback, which you have given us some feedback up to this point, and then we're gonna rebuild the process. We're gonna start with violations because that's the real public-facing touch point that we have with residents. So if it, like, just having you explain that to me, Mayor Pro Tem, I would say jot down notes of, like, this doesn't make sense to me, why these are grouped together. This is what you interpret this to mean, because at the end of this, I don't want to presume, we could have new definitions for each of the tiers in terms of what does life safety really mean. Is residential landscaping included in life safety, for example? Or should it be a lower tier? Or maybe we call a tier something different altogether. I don't know. I don't want to be presumptuous, but this is really an opportunity for you all, based on the feedback that you hear from residents, the touch points you have, complaints, concerns, and even positive feedback that you hear from residents. How do you want to shape code enforcement moving forward?
Okay. Are there examples in here, like this is considered a life safety, or just what we have on that sheet in section 7, I think?
So
Or public health? I'm just wondering if there's examples for each thing. I'm sorry, I'm asking having gone through this, so if it'll be answered when I go through this, then I'm good. Section 5?
There
Maybe it is.
should be, is the simple answer, Mayor Pro Tem. If you come across something where there's not,
Okay.
then let me know, but it should be, because
Thank you.
I did ask for that.
Okay,
So
thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So if you go to tab 12, and there's a memo from May of 2021, because I know that staff was frustrated with the fact that we keep asking this question. And so sometimes it's like, we've already told you, we've already told you, we've already talked about code, we've already done this. And so you have a lot of these previous presentations in here. But that is why, is because if you look at that memo, it says Tier 1, Health and Life Safety. And there's a whole presentation on council giving feedback to that. And then if you look at the grid, it was merged with public nuisance. And so I think, I just wanted to provide clarity on, we know that we keep asking about it. I'm not quite sure what happened between the May 2021 presentation and our current state of things, how those two things got merged, to the Mayor Pro Tem's point. And so because of that, we've asked the question again, and we keep using the phrase prioritization. And then we heard from staff, we've already done that. Yep, but it's not matching. Do you know what happened between 2021 and today? Is there a slide in, or slide deck in here that I'm missing where it changed? Because this slide deck in tab 11 did the work that I think this council was asking about a couple months ago. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering what happened in between. And then there's also a slide deck on tab 7 that doesn't have a date. Is that supposed to be for this one? Or do you know the date of that one?
So for tab 7, a date for
Oh, tab 6.
tab 6.
A date for that slide deck.
That is a templated overview, so that's why there's not a date in it. So I may have been incorrect when I previously said a staff presentation, so my apologies. So that looks like a templated presentation in terms of the process that they followed. Some of this information is similar to other presentations, so that's perhaps why I misspoke. My apologies.
So can you say more? So this is just general information that's sort of to stand the test of time, or where did it come from? We don't know. Is it
So it
new?
walks through the purpose of code enforcement,
Okay.
enforcement philosophy, overview of the process, case initiation and inspection. So this is a templated, this is how we do code enforcement.
Okay,
So it's an outline of the process. It highlights enforcement escalation options, chronic violators, discusses the emergency abatement process, and then collaboration across departments. So that's a templated presentation that shows, I guess you could consider it, you look at the policies and procedures, that's a simplification of it in a PowerPoint.
so was it created for this binder?
Do
So
you
it
know the answer to
didn't
that
exist
question?
before?
My understanding, it was a training tool. But
So, but it's new, it was created, why?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I do think possibly for this binder, there was not a previous presentation on this topic.
Okay, thank
Or
you.
on
I
that-
just
on
didn't know,
those
there was no
slides.
date, so I was wondering if it was old or new. Okay. So it's new is what you're saying, or new / current?
our current process. Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Burns, is your hand still up, or did I just not take it down?
I think you just didn't take it down.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I'm thinking. Because I'm trying to understand where we're going. So just to summarize, so we're meeting again on January 26th. And council needs to complete, we need to go through this binder and we need to complete this form. Is that correct?
The form is intended to help you prepare for discussion on January 26th. So the engagement exercise that we have envisioned for January 26th is violation prioritization, where council discusses with staff what the high, moderate, low priority violations are. And that'll help provide guidance to us in terms of what definitions do we need to change, what violations need to shift by tier. And then after that meeting, we will dive in as outlined in meeting 2 and 3 into all the other areas of the code enforcement process and policies.
Is there an acronym definition in here somewhere?
As in, can you
It
elaborate,
just,
Mayor?
so you have to read it start to finish to figure out what the acronyms mean. So I
Which
was just,
part, the memo or
the whole document. So I just was scrolling and there was an acronym that wasn't defined. So there's not a glossary of acronyms in here. No, I don't think so either. Okay.
I don't believe there is.
Okay. This is the training tool for new code officers? Is this binder?
Not this binder as it's presented, the procedure manual, and then other components are an aspect of the training.
Figured out what NSO stands for. It's not Northglenn Senior Organization. How many service officer, my page is upside down. How many service officers do we have currently?
We have 4, we're down 1, we're holding 1 position vacant. And the 4 includes the supervisor, Tom Carlson.
So a supervisor plus 3? Okay, and we're holding an opening, so is it plus 2?
No, it's 1 FTE position is vacant, and we're gonna continue to keep that vacant. And that, the rationale behind that is the current fiscal environment and assessing whether or not we need that 4th code officer. And so that was through natural attrition.
Okay, I'm blanked out, sorry. So it's a supervisor and 3
3.
is staffed,
The
not,
the allocated FTE count would
4.
be 5.
okay.
So 4 code officers and 1 supervisor.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I'm going to dig into it. I'm going to tell you that my first thought, my very first thought is, how do we collect data in a more efficient way? And whether it's police department data or it's code enforcement data, is it like a informational technology team? Is it a position? Is it a website? Is it a program? Because this is messy, and this is going to be homework for at least a month, if not longer. So I appreciate the heads up, but this is a really challenging way to navigate information. And so I just kept thinking, we've got to have better data at our fingertips.
Is it, may I ask, Mayor, is it the presentation of the data that is problematic? Because there is a lot of data here, and I will fully admit that this is probably a future discussion. Several of us went through a Greenbelt training through Peak Academy this morning, and our organization has done really great work with data in certain respects and not so much in other respects. And so I think that can be a conversation onto itself. When I bring forward the conversation about the innovation team, about the budget level of service framework on February 2nd, I think those two topics naturally lend themselves to asking, how do we use data and why? And that ties to what data do we collect? How is it presented? And that's why I asked the question about how it's presented, because we've provided a lot of spreadsheets. And I know that's perhaps not the best way to present the data, and we can go back and reformat and tweak it. I don't want this to be burdensome. So any feedback that you can provide, if you don't like what you have in front of you, then this is your opportunity to say, City Manager Geyer, we don't like it, take two, and come back to us by the end of this week or next week, and I'll give you a take two. I will collect the binders tonight, and we'll regroup with staff tomorrow, and I'll fix it.
PDF is huge. I mean, we can dig into it. What are you guys thinking first glance?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I did re-raise my hand, so if that got
Okay,
confusing,
good.
sorry.
Good.
I completely agree with you, Mayor. I think, like, you know, as a lover of Excel and spreadsheets and a pivot table herself, like a dashboard here and there would have been, I think, like very helpful. Like you said, maybe, Mayor, like an executive summary at the front end of each massive spreadsheets. I think too, it's just, I think it's just a little bit of the flow of the information as well. I think through the binder is not natural to me, but I want to dig in. And then my final question is from the digital version. We all knew I was going to ask about this. If I open this like in like an Adobe Reader, are there bookmarks on the side? And can I click through? So it's just not showing up that way in the reader. But if I open it in like actual preview, does anyone know the?
It should
It should be,
bookmarked.
I believe it's bookmarked when I had opened it.
Because on our, like in the web client, it's not presently. No, it has nothing. It's just a giant PDF of 413 pages. So, and I didn't know, because this is not like the actual Acrobat version of it. It's just the reader. So, and I have Acrobat, but I don't know if everyone else does. So it's just a tech thing.
Just on those machines.
Okay. What is on tab 5? I know you mentioned it. It's a fold out, but I couldn't quite. This is one of those things where I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
These are violations. The top 10, let me see, violation list with images and definitions. So you should be able to click on the hyperlink, which will take you to an image. So when you look at abandoned vehicle, dismantled or inoperable, that should take you to an image that describes that violation. And so these are top 10 violations. So meaning the
There's
most
that.
frequently reported violations
You're right.
that we end
There's
up
only
issuing
9.
citations.
The top 9. Okay.
Yeah, I did notice that as well. So I will follow up on that. There's not 10, there's 9 there.
I'm trying to figure out where that is on. Whoa. I'm going to have to look at the electronic. Everything under tab 4 is microscopic.
Can I make a request?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you
sorry.
please just let me have the notebooks back and I will fix them? I apologize. This is not how this was designed. This conversation was designed to go.
Yeah.
So I'd like for us to do some work over the next 24 to 48 hours, and then we will deliver notebooks pre-Christmas
Okay.
holiday. Does that sound like a plan?
Pre-Christmas. I'm happy to give it back. Yeah.
I'm going to take all the feedback that I've received tonight, and we're going to rework the notebook
Okay.
and the data, and we are going to make it much more manageable.
I think what would be helpful, so I appreciate the accommodating a little bit of a redo. It's just a little more clarity of walking through it,
Each section.
right? Like, this is, I don't know. Yeah, just a little more clarity around it, I think would be helpful. And
We
then
can do that.
what specifically you want from us. Because my first glance was that thing about the slide deck from 2021, commitment to do this, and then the transfer to the code prioritization not aligning. So, because our task is to look at it and prioritize it. But if we did that in 2021, then it becomes us just doing staff's work to separate public nuisance and life safety.
I will push back a bit on that.
Okay.
You, council as a whole, you are the policymakers. So regardless of what's occurred in 2021, 22, 3, 4, et cetera, you have the ability to provide policy direction that is different than past policy direction. So that's often why staff provides past memorandums and presentations, so you have a reference point of this is why this happened, this would,
Yep.
et cetera. So this discussion is really about moving forward and where does council want to go with code enforcement, which is why we called it reimagining code enforcement for community impact. I have heard enough from council that you want change. So we've really got to drill down and figure out what is it that you want to change about the process and policies.
Okay. Well, before we move forward, I would like all of council to share what they're hoping for from this exercise, at least before we say goodbye. Because I think if we're going to take another crack at it, we should have info. So, Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did want to just make a comment. If you're going to do a printed version, it can't have hyperlinks, obviously, because this one has hyperlinks. So either it would need to have the pictures, or we'll just resort to doing the online one. Just want to throw that out there. And again, I'm using the online one. I'm not opposed to that, so I can continue to use that if it saves a tree, because I hate for you guys to. I don't know what you're going to do with this, but you can't make it back into a tree. So, the other piece, as far as when I was kind of looking at the homework previously, I don't want to recreate the wheel. And it looks like I guess I'm worried that we're kind of doing the same thing that they did in 2021. Now I hear what you're saying about new council. We get to kind of update the priorities, so I'll go with that. The thing for me is kind of the repeat offenders. I guess really what I'm curious about, is there it's kind of that Pareto principle where there's like 20% of people account for 80% of the kind of complaints. I'd like that kind of data. I don't know if you can get that data, but I guess if I'm kind of looking at this, I'm curious about that. So I'm coming at it from, I think y'all are probably doing a great job with all the other stuff. That, I may have, suggestions around the corners, but probably not large ones, but really honing in on that is what I'm curious about. So that's kind of my input.
Lost all my things. Councilmember Leidy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had two questions. Number one, just looking at the tiers, life safety and keeping of chickens in the same category is just kind of confusing to me. So that was one thing that I noticed. And that was the same thing for overhanging branches. It was considered life safety. And then the second one was in tab 8. All of this information is really amazing, and I would love to look at it organized by year. It's kind of all over the place. It starts in 2021, and then I'm in 2023, then I'm back to 2022. Just being able to see, looking at by year and noticing maybe in 2021, we had more complaints about maybe volunteer, commercial, or something along those lines. Just being able to decipher between the two would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. And what I would share with you, Councilmember Leidy, the first two examples that you provided are great examples of what we want you to feed into the handout and bring to discussion, because those would be examples of, I want to shift this, or I want to have a conversation with your colleagues about why are chickens in this tier.
Really fast, I got you next. The code enforcement, where it says like anonymous, and then it has the addresses on it, those links take me to something called GoGov. If we're gonna use a, do we just use our own sign-in to access that? We have access to that? Okay,
Yeah, that's our CRM system.
perfect, okay. Adam, go ahead.
So I just want to clarify, because I think we're getting thrown off by the color. So it'll say public nuisance / life safety. Public nuisance meaning that that's the red prioritized high, right? Is that what I'm to understand?
It's in tier 1.
So they're not necessarily together, but they're prioritized at the same level.
Right,
Correct?
so if you look at tab 7, on the very far left, there's a tier column with a number 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4. So if you start left to right, going with littering on private / public property, that's a tier 1 violation, public nuisance, life safety. So referencing the other information in the document, you get the definition of what public nuisance, life safety is currently by definition. And so this data, and we can sort it differently. If you start with this page and then you work your way back, you'll see that the number of violations become fewer, and ultimately and then, so you see a bunch of zeros on page 3 and 4, meaning that there are not violations for those categories. And then when you look at violations by tier, this is where it's sorted by, these are all the life safety, tier 1, and then it goes to tier 2, and then it goes to tier 3, and then the blue is 4. And so when you're looking at tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can go through and see, okay, how many violations total, how many violations by year, and then currently, so if there's something on tier 1 that you do not think we should be enforcing, that's a note to make and part of the conversation for January 6th. So residing in a vehicle, trash bin enclosure, like all of those different pieces. And we have an explanation of why it's a tier 1 versus a tier 3, et cetera. But this is where there's an intersection of the policy conversation of just because it's the way it is today doesn't mean that's what you want moving forward. And so we need guidance on, and if this list is acceptable, then okay, we'll keep with what we currently do. But I will challenge council, because I've heard considerable feedback about why do we cite for weeds? Why do we cite on residential landscaping different aspects in terms of percentage of yard that's not landscaped and so forth. So we're starting here because this is literally getting in the weeds of the program and really wrapping our heads around what are we enforcing and why. And then we can work our way up through the program and really figure out what else needs to change. Things such as, I've heard from council, we don't like the way the notice is worded. So there's things, we can tweak in regard to those pieces, but the tab 7 is critical to the January 26th discussion, because I'd like to walk away from January 26th knowing, is there something that council wants to change? Do you want to move things by priority? Because if council says, City Manager Geyer, we do not want to be enforcing this that you currently enforce, then we'll have a conversation about why not. And if there's a reason that we have that's not explained elsewhere, and we say, okay, well, then we don't need to prioritize that enforcement. We don't need to prioritize residential landscaping. Or you say, well, I think this is more important, then we can shift.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a wonderful explanation that I kind of wish was in here. I was not expecting this amount of data. Honestly, I thought we were going to be more at the level of what do we think qualifies as safety, or what's a nuisance? And then, for example, I mean, if this comes back, I would hope that each of these sections has some kind of a little narrative to sort of set us up for what we're looking at. And then the, let's see, what's the procedure manual has all these like listed as chapters. And I was kind of thinking we'd be discussing kind of at that level, like you have it as chapter 12, bus on private property. Well, why is it a tier 1 or why is it a tier 2? I didn't know that we needed to know how many times we've given that violation to people, but I don't know, maybe that is something that other people wanted. I didn't think we were going to get to that until much further down, like we were just at this higher level of why is blowing dust where it is? Why is, that kind of thing. So that's what I was expecting. And so when I was looking through all of this, it's like, I just was kind of confused. Am I looking at like actual definitions, or is this examples of people who've actually, had this code issue? It was just kind of, some of it was just kind of confusing to me. So, I mean, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I just thought this is like way more data than I was expecting. And I don't know how useful it'll be, but.
Well, and because I'm still trying to sort through in my brain what would actually be helpful. And so when you went back to the table of contents, this is alphabetical, it looks like. So it doesn't seem to be by tier on this document. So when you said tier 1 is a bus, I was like, how do you know? It doesn't say that.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right? And so this document is alphabetical. And I'm sorry, it does make me laugh that it's upside down, because I'm like, I don't know what that
Document,
so
telling me which document
so
you're referencing.
the main one with all the chapters is alphabetical. And so even if I just look at the online version, I'm trying to sort out how to get there. So the tab 7, you said, has a lot of information, but it also has multiple ways of organizing itself, right? So it's kind of two parts. So I'm trying to put these things together, right? There's high to low on the first page, and then there's tier 1. And so say, for example, that I have questions about stale matter. Stale matter is a tier 1. And I think we're misspelling tier as well. Is tier 1. And how do I go find out what that means? I look at, is there a code reference?
There is.
So
you
9,
will-
11, 18, and then that's in this binder, yes? Okay, so then I go back to, oh goodness, do I have to go back to the little teeny print?
No, you would go to tab 5.
Tab 5, okay. So I go to tab 5. And is this one now alphabetical? So then I go to, I'm serious, this is a serious question, because I want to be able to navigate it, and I don't. So how do I find stale matter? It looks like it's alphabetical. So then I go P, nope, I guess not.
So stale matter would be, and the pages aren't numbered, so if you go 1,
Ooh, I happened to
2,
find it, but I
3,
found it
4,
by
5.
accident.
So 5 pages in from the back page. Stale matter is second from the bottom,
Okay,
which
so.
provides you the code description.
We did what? I found it by accident. How did you find it?
By looking alphabetical order. So,
But it's in public nuisance, but it was a tier 1, which
yes,
has those
the data,
combined.
it's sorted differently for this tab.
Okay. So to continue just through my process, so now I'm at stale matter, and it says, it is unlawful and deemed a nuisance to keep, collect, or use or cause to be kept, collected, or used, or permit to be kept or used, any, and then it says, please remove stale matter and keep stored in a sealed container. Is there another page, or did it just get left off?
That,
Maybe it's in the other document. Because I'm like, how do you determine stale matter? Because the other question I have, to be honest, is how do our code officers use this to be not subjective? And so that I want to provide them a tool that's prioritized in a way that makes sense. And that there's not because I don't know why stale matter is in the first one. I don't know what the definition of stale matter is. Do they? So there's the training piece for our staff. Are they feeling really confident that they can walk out into our neighborhood and say, yep, I understand what this means. I understand the code. I'm ready to write a ticket, citation, whatever we call it. But then is it explainable to the resident? So this says, please remove stale matter and keep stored in a sealed container. I don't know if that's a dead cat, and I'm being serious. Like, is that stale matter on somebody's property? Or is this like paint? Or I don't, how do I know? So when I go to do this for all of us together in January, I don't know how to do it.
okay. I can get clarification on those pieces. I'm pretty
Okay.
certain it's not a dead cat.
I don't, well, I wasn't
Or
sure.
of a liquid, you know. But that's helpful to me, knowing that you don't have everything you need to make an informed decision in terms of understanding what stale matter is. So,
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think, yeah, to just like build off of what I think I'm hearing and we're all sort of feeling is like my big question is like, why is code in charge of tax evasion of sales tax and grass in people's yards? That's what is happening here. And so I think like, I don't think I'm an uneducated person, but I feel like one in this moment. And I think to Dr. Goff's point, like, I think we need to bring ourselves back up and then maybe get back down into things. Like, because municipal sales tax evasion is a thing that code is also in charge of. So the vibes of this are overwhelming for sure. And I think it would be helpful to have the conversation of like, why are the things in here that they are in? Like, why is this in here? Like, and how did we? I guess like to the mayor's point of the what tab was that? 5, that deck, mayor. Because like, when I saw that too, it's like we were supposed to be getting frequent updates from code enforcement. I don't think I had one, except for when we've requested them. So I think like I need like a history or like some sort of 101, like this is like a 301 binder, and I think I'm at a 101 stage, to be perfectly frank. Yeah.
Well, I think that's where staff gets frustrated, because I think they feel, and this is all of staff, not just our city manager, but I think what I've heard is that they feel like they've done the 101 so many times. Like every year, a new council sits down and says, hey, we want to talk about code, and we get the 101 version of it. And I don't think 101 is clear enough.
Maybe we need
I
201.
found stale matter is grease. And so I found out there's another part that you have to reference too. So that's when I'm like, maybe tab 5 isn't necessary because it's in the chapters. So if I go back to my process question, if I find stale matter and I have a question, I can go to the table of contents, I find stale matter. It's in chapter 110. And it's stale, putrid, or stinking fat or grease. As long as, I don't know who does that, but if it's not in a sealed container. And so then this is how we determine that that is a life safety issue. So it's been highlighted by someone as life safety, and it needs to be enforced proactively and complaint-based. This is a lot.
Understood. I know it's a lot, and so we want to make this manageable because it's a really important conversation we need to have differently. We're trying to tee this up differently so as to not have council frustrated with past conversations.
Madam Mayor, if I may build off of my previous statement.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. I think like, yes, I think like we're all in the same boat, staff and council, because I think like this Groundhog Day situation, like something is clearly broken, that we're in this loop, right? And so I think like maybe understanding how to present this information in a way that isn't, no offense, not this, but and how does this, like, I just feel like, if I understand like maybe like tweaking, I would love, my ultimate goal coming out of this is like I would love to end at a place that like even like as council changes, like we only want to change like a code here or there, like maybe even like recategorize something, or because I think like when I brought all of this forward, when I'm having all of my thoughts about this, I came from a place of like the goals of code enforcement, right? And so is it like I saw in one of the decks here that it was like to beautify Northglenn. And when I look then in all of these different codes, like, again, how does sales tax evading beautify Northglenn? And like, I think like I would like to start at a place of like strategic priorities. What is the purpose of this? And then get into, because yeah, like I don't understand, and like maybe there is back and forth of like what makes litter life-threatening. I think it would depend on the litter in my mind. But like I don't know. I'm having so many thoughts and feelings, and yeah, I would love to start I would like to start at 60,000 feet. I think that's my goal for the next session.
Councilmember Leidy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Councilmember Burns just said, especially that beautifying Northglenn piece. But also, there is a piece of this code enforcement impacts our residents, so how are we being transparent for them as well, and making sure that when they do have a code enforcement violation, they know not only why it happened, but how they can fix it and move forward. I've heard from a lot of residents that it just continuously happens, and instead of, in a way, targeting the resident, making sure that we support them and uplift them to beautify Northglenn instead of basically just giving them the violation over and over and over. And then, like some of these things have noted, that we end up taking them to court for the summons. That seems a little aggressive, in my opinion, just being able to say, have some transparency and also support our residents through that as well.
Thank you.
I personally don't think we need section 4. It took me a minute to zoom in to figure out what it even was. And I mean, I guess we could hold on to it if people want to use it. I don't know, because it's a lot of compliments, or they left it blank. And so I'm not quite sure how that's helpful. It just mirrors a lot of what I think we've heard. So we can hold on to it. Can I go back to my original question? So 2021, is that the most recent slide deck?
We had a conversation with council on the front end of this year. And so I'm not sure why that presentation is not in here, unless I'm missing it. Jason, help me out if I am.
I just want to see if it's in here. There was one in April of 2021 with some data.
We had a conversation in March of this year. I'd have to go back to my notes, but
I just agree with you that looking at the historical conversation does have value, especially if we're regrounding in the purpose and the work that we've done so far. Might help us understand how we got here. So I was just an in-between. I don't know.
so I think this is a really, if I may, Mayor, great teachable moment. We've missed the mark on the notebooks. So I think I've heard enough feedback this evening. I know we've got a couple more agenda items to get to. So in the interest of time, I would ask respectfully that you let me take the notebooks back.
Okay.
We'll take another stab at it and get you notebooks before the holiday and rework information,
Okay.
the data, and get it in a better presented format for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to adjourn the study session. I will now call to order the special city council meeting of December 15th, 2025. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lukeman Hiramasa. Here. Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Severs.
Here.
Councilmember Kondo.
Here.
Councilmember Roper is absent. Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Here.
Councilmember Leidy.
Here.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion that the city council meet in executive session 1 pursuant to sections 4.5D of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for legal consultation and advice, and section 4.5E for pending litigation regarding the city's public facilities standards. And 2 pursuant to section 4.5D of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for legal consultation and advice regarding individuals of concern and workplace violence protocols.
Motion to adjourn is so stated.
Seconded.
Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.
We will adjourn to the executive session.